Hey y'all, happy Sunday. I thought this week I would do something a little bit different and share a couple Sunday supper ideas with you. Got crockpot meatloaf and red wine braised short ribs coming up. For the meatloaf, you're going to place some aluminum foil in the bottom of your crock pot. Next, you're going to slice up some onions and place them in the bottom of the crock pot. That way it has something to sit on and also adds more flavor. This is the beef, pork, and veal meat mixture that I like to use. Sometimes if I can't find the mix all in one, I'll just buy beef and either ground veal or ground pork. But I do use a total of 2 pounds. I typically just kind of split it in half if I have to buy it separate. And I break it up a little bit just because in that package it's so condensed. And then I go in with 1 packet of onion mushroom soup, which is the Lipton onion soup mix. Whichever flavor floats your boat. I just happened to grab that one at the grocery store. And then I go in with a lower sodium brown gravy packet, about half to 3/4 of that packet, 1 large diced onion, some AP seasoning from Mr. Make It Happen's channel. I will be sure to link that below. I also use some parsley flakes. I don't really have any measurements. I just measure from the heart and whatever feels right. It's kind of how I do it. I've got some Worcestershire going in, about half to a whole teaspoon, maybe even a tablespoon. Some ketchup. And sometimes I will add 57 sauce. It just kind of depends on my mood and what I'm feeling that day. And then I go in with some garlic. Yes, garlic. Just a tablespoon and a half. And then you're going to have 1 egg per pound of meat. So it's 2 eggs for this meatloaf that I'm making. And then milk. Pretty much a cup of milk. You can always add a little bit more if it feels a little too dry. And then I add panko breadcrumbs. Again, I just kind of measure them in probably half to 3/4 of a cup. Break up the egg yolks, get it all combined, and you really can't overmix meatloaf. At least that's how I've always done it. So get it all mixed, form it into the shape of a loaf, and get that big heavy thing in the crock pot. Now cook this on low for 5 to 6 hours. You just want to check it and make sure that the internal temperature is like 165. And then I am here just slicing up some potatoes. I decided to make some stewed potatoes for this night's sides. I should have cut them a little bit smaller, but I was just kind of winging it. So here I'm just quartering them up. I think next time I'll definitely make them smaller. So get the water in there, add some Better Than Bouillon chicken bouillon. I always buy the low sodium. And then I added some thyme, dried thyme, a little dried rosemary, and also I think just some salt and pepper. And then these are the green beans that I made in the air fryer, and oh my heavens, they were delicious. So you're going to take a pound of fresh green beans, and I always wash mine even though it says that they are already washed. I just don't trust things, I guess. So there they are. I did rinse them off. And then, well, first I looked through them to make sure there wasn't any kind of weird pieces, and then you can see here how they were washed off. Throw in a little bit of olive oil, a splash of lemon juice. Just eyeball it. That's what I always do. Some salt and some pepper. Green beans can take a lot of salt when they're fresh like this because they're fresh. Sorry, they're not canned and have been sitting in liquid, so they can take a little bit more salt than what you would normally put on like a canned green bean. And then I'm using the McCormick vegetable seasoning. This stuff has really become one of my favorites lately. I kind of, just season up any vegetable that I'm making with it, and it really adds a good flavor. There's a bunch of different spices in it. Give that all a good toss. And then I add in some of the Parmesan cheese. And they cook in the air fryer on 370 for 15 minutes, and you're just going to shake them every 5. So I put them in, and then, like I said, every 5 minutes I shake them, and would just cook them totally for 15 minutes. There's my stewed potatoes. And I added half a stick of butter. I let that melt. Here I added some dried parsley. I love dried parsley. I put it on a lot of different things. So I put that in and give it a good stir, and I bring it up to like a boil to try to get some of that liquid out. And then here I made some of this Kinder's brown gravy mix because I didn't feel like trying to make gravy from scratch. But that gravy is really good. I was pleasantly surprised at how good it came out. So get it all in the pot, and then you put in 2 cups of cold water. Well, it's 1 cup per packet. I love gravy. I could drink it. Here I'm just shaking the green beans, and you see that's how they look. They came out so good. I was so happy. It was a brand new recipe that I tried. Here's the meatloaf. I added glaze to mine with some ketchup, brown sugar, and regular balsamic vinegar. It's so yummy. So let me know if you were going to try this recipe, and if you did or you do, let me know how it comes out. It's one of our favorites. Here I'm making my red wine braised short ribs. You want to salt them on all sides the night before if possible. And then you want to bring them to room temperature and then sear them on all sides. Just get a good crust on them. And then you'll chop up your vegetables. So you want to have double the onion that you have for celery and carrot. It's called a mirepoix, which is the base to any good soups or stews or anything like that. So just chop them up into big pieces. It's just going to be for flavor. You're not going to do anything with them later. And then here you see I'm chopping up, I'm just quartering this big onion that I have, and I end up using 2. So like I said, you want double the onion that you have for the carrots and the celery. And here I'm adding some leeks. I take off the tops and the bottoms, and then I just cut them in big pieces. You want to make sure that you wash them really well because a lot of dirt gets stuck inside of those rings. So, and you definitely don't want that in with your short ribs. And then the rest I just discard. Yeah, you'll see me pick through and kind of look to see, okay, yeah, there's a few. I can still cut more of that off. So that's what I do. Leeks are in the onion family, and they just give a really good flavor base to any soups or stews that you're making. Especially when you make broth of any kind, it's really good too. So then I add in a couple heads of garlic. I just slice them in half and then throw them in. I add red wine, hence red wine braised. So you want to put some wine in there in the bottom and then just let all of that kind of cook out until there's hardly any left. That's when you know that all of the alcohol has cooked out and it's kind of done its job as far as flavoring all the vegetables. I've always cooked with wine. Can't help it. Here I have some thyme and rosemary that I'm just going to tie up and make it like a little package that goes on top of the short ribs, and it just helps to flavor everything. Like I said, along with the garlic, you don't have to peel the garlic. You can just take it whole and slice it in half and then pop it in there, and you're going to pick it all out later. Especially with the herbs, you're going to do the same with those. Here I'm adding some tomato paste for added flavor. You season in layers. I think I've already added some salt and pepper in here. It's pretty much the only thing I really put in here. I let the herbs and the other aromatics do the work for me. Along with the wine, it gives it a nice robust flavor. And short ribs are one of my favorite things to make. Like my labor of love Sunday suppers. Along with a few others. I'll have to share them as time goes on. So just get all that mixed in really good, and then you're going to start nestling in the short ribs. I like to put mine with the bone side up so that I know once I add the beef broth, they are all fully submerged into the beef broth and the liquid, and that they are getting the most flavor that they can get. So here you'll see me have to rework a few things just to get them all to fit. And then you want to add the beef broth. Again, use low sodium. just to cover them because it's going to boil in the oven. And you cook these in 250 at 250 for 3 hours. Here I'm making some green beans. I'm using some turkey wings, just some frozen green beans because they're pretty much fresh. They freeze them at peak as soon as they pick them, so they're a really good alternative to fresh if for some reason you can't find those at the store. Bacon grease, y'all, liquid gold. And then I use some of the ham better than bouillon. They do not have this in low sodium, at least I can't find it in low sodium. And then I add 1 whole onion. Let that come up to a simmer and cook. Here I am removing all of the short rib to a separate plate. And then I'm going to strain all of this liquid and get all of the vegetables out, leaving only the liquid. Once you do that, you're going to reduce that just by simmering it and letting it cook and reduce. So you'll see me kind of scooting through here and mushing all the stuff out. And then you'll also see in the pot on the right, I've got some potatoes boiling for my mashed potatoes. I have a stick of rosemary in there as well, a couple twigs, sorry. And the only thing I really do with my mashed potatoes is I use a stick of butter, I use evaporated milk, and then I use my hand mixer to blend them, and you'll see that here in just a second. I do warm up the cream and butter and melt it, and then I add it in that way. But here is our plate, our Sunday supper deliciousness. They are so good. They were falling off the bone. Some of them I pulled out of the pot and they literally had no bone on them. Let me know if you're going to try this recipe, and if you do, let me know down below how it turned out. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, y'all.